Once divine and radiant, the Watchers, fallen angels, now trembled in despair. Banished from heaven, they wept for redemption. But what happened next defied all expectations. They implored, they pleaded, even dispatching a messenger to God himself. Yet the answer they received was unlike anything they had foreseen. This is a mystery veiled for centuries, a judgment so absolute, so terrifying, that even demons still tremble at its mention. Stay with me as we unveil the shocking truth and its profound significance for us all. In the days before the Great Flood, when the earth was still young, a forbidden act took place, one that would alter the course of history forever. 200 powerful angels, known as the Watchers, descended upon Mount Hermon. Led by Shemihaza and Azazel, they abandoned their heavenly estate and entered the realm of men. But their desire was not merely to observe, it was to rule, to corrupt, to take what was never meant for them. Genesis 6, 1-4. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. This unholy union gave birth to a new race, the Nephilim, giants of immense power and wickedness. They ravaged the earth, consuming its resources, oppressing humanity, and spreading destruction. But the corruption did not stop there. The fallen angels taught mankind forbidden secrets, sorcery, weapons of war, astrology, and the dark arts, knowledge never intended for human hands. Book of Enoch, chapter 8, 1-2. And Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them. And there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray and became corrupt in all their ways. The world spiraled into chaos. Violence, bloodshed, and sin spread like a plague, defiling the very creation of God. What began as an act of rebellion soon became a war against the divine order itself. The cries of the innocent rose to the heavens. The earth, once pure, was now defiled with blood. The sins of the fallen angels and their offspring, the Nephilim, had reached their limit. The corruption of mankind had become unbearable, and the Most High would not remain silent. The great archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel, looked upon the earth with sorrow and righteous anger. They saw the suffering of humanity, the violence, the destruction, and they carried the cries of the oppressed before the throne of God. Book of Enoch 9:1-3. And then Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel looked down from heaven and saw much blood being shed upon the earth, and all lawlessness being wrought upon it. And they said one to another, "The earth, made without inhabitant, cries. The voice of their cries goes up to the gates of heaven. And now to you, O Holy One of heaven, the souls of men make their suit, saying, Bring our cause before the Most High." In his divine justice, God issued his decree. The corruption of the Watchers and their children could no longer be tolerated. Their punishment would be severe, and their dominion over the earth would be shattered forever. Book of Enoch 10:9-12. And to Gabriel said the Lord, Proceed against the bastards and the reprobates, and against the children of fornication, and destroy the children of the Watchers from amongst men. Send them one against the other, that they may destroy each other in battle. And when their fathers have been bound in the depths of the earth, they shall be destroyed after many generations, and no request for mercy shall be granted unto them. The decree was final. The Nephilim, the giants who had once ruled the earth, would be forced to turn on one another. They would wage war, their own strength becoming their downfall. Blood would flow, and their monstrous reign would come to a violent end. Genesis 6:5-7. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, for it repenteth me that I have made them. A flood was coming, a divine reset, a judgment that would cleanse the world of its corruption. But not all would perish. One man, righteous and faithful, found favor in the eyes of the Lord. His name was Noah. Genesis 6:8-9. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations, and Noah walked with God. God gave Noah a command to build an ark, a vessel of salvation for him and his family. Through Noah, humanity would be given another chance. But for the watchers, there was no hope. Jude 1:6. And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness, unto the judgment of the great day. The fallen angels, the watchers who had defiled the earth, would face a fate worse than death. They would be imprisoned, bound in chains, cast into the abyss, awaiting the final judgment, where their punishment would be eternal. But the watchers were not ready to accept their fate. In desperation, they begged for forgiveness. The watchers, once mighty and revered, now trembled in despair. Bound by the weight of their rebellion, they faced a punishment unlike any they had ever known. The decree of the Most High had been spoken. They were to be cast into the abyss, held in chains until the final judgment. Yet in their desperation, they refused to accept their fate. If only they could plead their case. If only they could beg for mercy. If only someone could stand before God on their behalf. And so they turned to one man, Enoch. Book of Enoch, 13, 3-4. Then I went and spoke to them all together, and they were all afraid, and fear and trembling seized them. And they asked me to write out for them a petition that they might find forgiveness, and to take the petition to the Lord in heaven. Enoch, a man chosen by God, was no ordinary human. He had walked with the Lord, and had been given knowledge beyond that of any man. Now, he was given a task unlike any other, to act as a mediator between heaven and the fallen. The watchers, these once glorious beings, humbled themselves before a mortal. They pleaded, they begged, they wept. Their voices, once filled with power and command, now shook with terror. Book of Enoch, 13:5. For they could no longer speak with him nor lift up their eyes to heaven, for shame of their sin for which they had been condemned. Enoch, filled with dread yet bound by duty, accepted their request. He took their petition and began a journey, one that would take him beyond the limits of the earth, beyond the stars, into the very throne room of the Almighty. Through the cosmic realms, Enoch ascended, passing through the heavens, each more glorious and terrifying than the last. He beheld wonders that no human had ever seen, great fiery walls, celestial beings beyond comprehension, and the very fabric of creation itself. Book of Enoch, 14:8-10. And the vision was shown to me thus: Behold, in the clouds, a great house built of white marble, and the walls of it were like mosaics of hailstones, and its floor was of crystal, and its ceiling was like the path of the stars, and the lightnings flashed in between them. And in the midst of the house there sat a great glory wrapped in flames of fire. Enoch trembled before the majesty of God. The light was blinding, the presence overwhelming. This was not a place for the fallen. This was not a place for the guilty. Would the watchers' pleas be heard? Would God, in his infinite mercy, grant them forgiveness? Or was their sin too great? Enoch stood before the great glory, his mortal frame trembling beneath the overwhelming presence of the Almighty. He had carried the pleas of the fallen angels, their desperate cries for mercy. But as he waited for a response, the heavens grew silent. Then, from the throne of God, a voice thundered, a decree that would shake the very foundations of the cosmos. Book of Enoch, 14:3-4. You have been in heaven, but all the mysteries had not yet been revealed to you, and you knew worthless ones. And in the hardness of your hearts, you have made this known to the women. And through these mysteries, women and men work much evil on earth. The answer was final. No mercy, no second chances, no redemption. The fallen angels had sealed their fate the moment they chose to rebel. Book of Enoch 14:5. Therefore, you shall have no peace. God's judgment was clear. While humans were created with redemption in mind, angels were not. Unlike mankind, who could repent and be forgiven, the watchers had once stood in the full glory of heaven. They had seen the face of God. They had known his power, his holiness. And yet they still chose to rebel. Book of Enoch 15:2-3. And he answered and said to me, Fear not, Enoch, you righteous man and scribe of righteousness. Go, say to the watchers of heaven who have sent you to intercede for them. You should intercede for men, and not men for you. Wherefore have you left the high, holy, and eternal heaven, and lain with women, and defiled yourselves with the daughters of men, and taken wives unto yourselves, and done like the children of the earth? God reminded them of their place. They were not meant to be like men. They were created as celestial beings, with wisdom and strength far beyond that of humanity. But they had abandoned their divine state, choosing lust, power, and corruption over obedience. Book of Enoch, 15:6-7. But you were formerly spiritual, living the eternal life and immortal for all generations of the world, and therefore I have not appointed wives for you. For as for the spiritual ones of the heaven, in heaven is their dwelling. This was the ultimate betrayal. The angels had been given a role far above that of man. Yet they desired the pleasures of the flesh. They sought to rule instead of serve, to corrupt instead of uphold righteousness. And now they would suffer eternally. Hebrews 2:16. For surely it is not angels he helps, but Abraham's descendants. Unlike fallen humanity, who could be redeemed through faith, the watchers had no such hope. Their judgment was final, their punishment irreversible. They had forfeited their place in heaven, and now they would reap the consequences of their rebellion. Book of Enoch, 15:9-10. And now the giants who are born from the spirits and flesh shall be called evil spirits upon the earth, because they are born from men and from the holy watchers, their beginning and primal origin. They shall be evil spirits on earth, and evil spirits shall they be called. Even their own children, the Nephilim, would not find rest. Their spirits, cursed and restless, would remain on earth as demons, tormenting mankind until the final judgment. With the decree given, Enoch was dismissed. The gates of heaven closed behind him, and he descended back to earth. He returned to the watchers, carrying the answer they feared the most. There would be no peace, no forgiveness, no redemption. The watchers had fallen, and they would remain fallen for all eternity. The heavens had spoken. The fate of the fallen angels was sealed. Their pleas for mercy had been met with silence, and their judgment had been declared. Now they would face the full weight of their punishment. But where does one imprison celestial beings? Where could these once mighty watchers be held so that they would never again corrupt the earth? God had prepared a place for them, a realm of despair, a prison beyond imagination, hidden deep beneath creation itself. Book of Enoch, 18:14-16. And I saw a deep abyss with columns of heavenly fire, and among them I saw places of darkness. And on that day my angel said, This place is prepared for those who have been cursed forever. This abyss, this unholy prison, was no ordinary pit. It was a place of torment and utter desolation, a realm where even light could not escape. The fallen angels, once glorious and free, were now bound in darkness, chained by divine decree. 2 Peter 2:4. For if God did not spare the angels when they sinned, but cast them into hell, and committed them to chains of gloomy darkness, to be kept until the judgment. This place, called Tartarus, was a prison unlike any other. The chains that bound the watchers were not made of earthly metal, but forged by the very power of God. Their cries for mercy echoed through the abyss, but no answer would come. But for Azazel, the punishment was even more severe. Book of Enoch 10:4-6. And again the Lord said to Raphael, Bind Azazel hand and foot, and cast him into the darkness. Make an opening in the desert, which is in Dudael, and cast him therein. Place upon him rough and jagged rocks, and cover him with darkness. Let him abide there forever. Azazel, the corrupter of men, the one who taught the forbidden arts and led humanity into destruction, was cast into the wilderness, a forsaken land where he would be buried beneath jagged rocks. No light would reach him, no voice would call his name. He would remain there, alone in the darkness, until the final judgment. Book of Enoch 21:1-3. And I saw a desolate place, and there I saw 7 stars of heaven bound together in it like great mountains and burning with fire. Then I said, For what sin are they bound, and why have they been cast here? Then Uriel, one of the holy angels who was with me, answered and said, These are the watchers who have transgressed the command of the Most High, and they are bound here until the end of days. The watchers had once walked in the courts of heaven. They had once beheld the glory of God. But now they were nothing more than prisoners, condemned for eternity. Revelation 20:10. And the devil who had deceived them was thrown into the lake of fire and sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet were, and they will be tormented day and night, forever and ever. This was not just a punishment, it was a warning to all creation, to those who might dare to rise against the Almighty, to those who might believe they could defy the will of God. The watchers had learned this lesson too late. Their cries had faded into the abyss, and their names had become a curse. But their influence, their corruption, it did not end there. The abyss was only the beginning. The watchers had been cast into darkness, bound in chains, imprisoned beneath the earth. But their punishment was not yet complete. The final judgment was still to come. From the beginning, their fate had been sealed. They had chosen rebellion, and now the sentence that awaited them was one of eternal fire. Matthew 25:41. Then he will say to those on his left, Depart from me, you cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. A day will come when the prison of the fallen angels will be emptied, not for redemption, but for destruction. On that day, they will be cast into the lake of fire, joining the devil and his followers in a torment that will never end. Revelation 20:10. And the devil who had deceived them was thrown into the lake of fire and sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet were, and they will be tormented day and night, forever and ever. This is the final judgment, the ultimate end for those who defied the Most High. The fallen angels, once powerful and glorious, will suffer the full weight of divine justice. Their cries will go unheard. Their names will be forgotten. Their legacy will be one of ruin. But what about us? What does their story mean for humanity today? The watchers fell because of pride. They fell because they rejected God's authority, choosing instead to follow their own desires. And for that, they lost everything. Proverbs 16:18. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. If even the mighty angels could not escape judgment, what does that mean for us? How should we live in light of their fate? The story of the fallen angels is more than just an ancient tale. It's a warning against rebellion, a warning against corruption, a warning against turning away from God's path. So I ask you, if God did not spare the angels who sinned, how should we live today? What do you think? Should God have given them another chance, or was their punishment just? Let's discuss in the comments.